Hey there, YouTube. I'm going to take a look at my Elton John rig, if you will, and kind of show you how I have everything set up in terms of wiring, because there's multiple MIDI boxes involved, and kind of give you a little idea as to how I have everything mixed. This is something that a few of you have been asking for a while, and finally have a chance to do this and kind of share with you how I have everything set up. So here we go. We're going to take a look. Right now you're looking at a Yamaha CP4 stage piano. And then to the left, this is a custom rack unit. It's all furniture grade pine here to the left. So we'll just kind of glide on over here. And I actually had it customized. And the reason I did is was so that it'd be easier to transport. So you may notice there's two sets of handles there. It's because there's a top and a bottom that has pass-throughs for wires built into the bottom of the top piece and the top piece of the bottom. So, and then there's road case latches that snaps it into place so that when it's here in the house, it looks like a piece of furniture and it looks like one unit, but very easy to dismantle and it keeps everything contained. So lighting's a little tough here, but just kind of bear with me. So in the front here, that's a Soundcraft Signature 12 MTK, which is for a multi-track. It's a multi-track recording. It has USB. So we're going to move the light here a little bit. So that's the mixer you're looking at, the console. It is a tabletop console, but it does fit in a rack. You see the extender. We'll zoom in there. The extender to the left. So that wing gets added on that ear, and then it can get mounted to the rack. Moving down, here is where Elton's sound comes from primarily. The Roland MKS-20 here, this black box, is probably producing about 70% of his sound when you go to a live show. That's the piano sound. Now, right above it is a Yamaha Motif rack. This is the first generation Motif voice box, basically. So the rack version of the Motif workstation, just like for the Roland here, the MKS-20 is actually the rack version of the old RD-1000, which Elton used in the 80s. If you watch his music video for I Don't Want to Go On With You Like That, he's actually playing a Roland RD-1000 in that. That was the stage piano that he was using for touring and the music videos as well back at that time. That was, if I'm not mistaken, before he switched, the instrument he used right before he switched to the 9-foot Yamaha Grand that he still uses today. All right, we're on the flip side here now, looking at the back of the Yamaha unit of the CP4, okay? And so we're going to take a look at the inputs that I have here. So one nice thing about this piano, and a lot of the new stage pianos are coming out with it, which is it's just great, is they have full-on balanced XLR outputs. So I have that. So we are using the CP4 to build in some natural sound, just a little bit, but not too much. Now over here we have a MIDI. Okay, we'll zoom into it here. So this is your MIDI. The MIDI is Musical Instrument Digital Interface. Okay, so it's basically a signal that's going to the Roland and the Yamaha MIDI boxes that are in the rack that you just saw. Okay, so we'll back down here. So now all of this last chord, which is right here, that last chord is the foot pedal, so that's just also plugged in. So in terms of wiring going to the rack itself, we have the power, which was on the far left. We have right here the output of the piano itself, so the sounds of the piano going to the mixing console. And then right here we have the MIDI. All right, so here's where the sea of wires go, okay? This is where they all go. So in the back of the Roland, again, this is not pretty, but it's as organized as we can get it. So the back of the Roland here, I'll put the light down for a minute. The back of the Roland, so you can see it, there is a through for the MIDI. See if we can see that there. Yep, there's the through, okay? So there's a through, and then on the other side, right here, there's an in. I don't know where you can see that, okay? So there's a through and an in. So what we're doing is I'm going from the piano with the MIDI, okay, from the piano with the MIDI. And we're going into the Roland. And then I have with the through, I have the through coming up and going into the MIDI. This is now the Yamaha, the motif rack that you're looking at. So I'm able to piggyback them, and that's why they have these in, out, in, through. It allows you to control multiple MIDI boxes at once from one controller, the controller being the CP4. So we reset the shot here. We're still in the back of the rack. Now, on the bottom is the Roland, and the top box is the motif. On the right side here, I'm taking the XLR out, mic cable out of the Roland, and that's snaking up to the Soundcraft console. And then on the motif, taking stereo 1/4 inch left and right outputs and going into the Soundcraft console. Okay, so we are now back in front of the rack unit. So I just showed you the back side, and now we're going to show you where everything connects to. So we'll just kind of head over here. I'm going to zoom in for you. Okay. So channel 1 is the MKS-20. That's the Roland. So you see the mic cable there on channel 1. Channel 2 and 3 are stereo ins from the motif rack. Remember I showed you I had 1/4 inch stereo left and right coming out, and that wraps around going into channels 2 and 3. And remember, to get that stereo sound, you have to change the pans right here to the left and then to the right. At the moment they're evened up because I'm going mono out to my monitor, so I had to mono them up and even them out. However, when you're using a PA system with 2 speakers or just your headphones, it would be panned. Channel 2 to the left, channel 3 to the right. Now, then I have, in order to save some space, kind of a unique setup here. So the dual XLRs coming off of the CP4 are going into one channel. And that's because channel 7 and 8 and 9 and 10 are stereo input channels here on this unit. So I have 2 sets of XLR to 1/4 inch wires, cables. One for left, one for right. Okay, and they're marked as such. And that goes down channel 7-8. Okay, so that's the piano. Right next to it is actually a 3.5 millimeter standard headphone jack that goes to stereo. So I'm using 9 and 10 the same way I'm doing for the piano, getting a stereo with just one channel rather than having to use 2 and pan them left or right. Okay. So now, taking a look at the mix, there's some serious EQing going on here, which you probably notice. So on channel 1, the highs, or I should say channel 1 through 3, the highs, mids, and basses are boosted quite a bit. And then there's the white knob is a mid-frequency fader. Basically what that does is when you bring up the mids, you can sweep that and find a sweet spot and basically eliminate a frequency that you don't want. So they're really boosted because the sound, to get Elton's sound, you know, it also has to do with a lot of the EQing and the mixing here. And the Roland, just on its own, is actually quite flat. So it does need a lot of boosting to it. And that's why it gets so punchy when you start bringing out those highs and the mids in particular. Okay? The sampling on this instrument for the 9-foot grands is just outstanding. So really, I mean, I use the CFX here. And that's just the standard piano mix. It's really great. For the Roland, we're using the Piano 1 sound. Okay, and then for the motif rack, I'm not sure if I changed. Yep, there it is. The Power Grand. You cannot buy those anymore. They are old pieces of equipment, and so you have to find them on like eBay, which is what I did. I got very lucky. The Soundcraft mixer here, this console, is something you can buy. It's a newer piece of equipment, and I'll tell you, the USB recording feature is just outstanding. So there you have it. That's pretty much the whole setup here. You know, not much more to go through, and I do hope that this helps you though, because I love the sound. You know, I'm a big Elton John fan, and I've always liked his piano sound. I think it's because it's so loud and it cuts through and you can hear it so well You know, even more so than Billy Joel. I mean, Billy Joel is just awesome live as well, but his piano doesn't stand out as much. This mix that Elton has is just phenomenal. Billy Joel, actually, believe it or not, he's using a Kurzweil system, which it does have a nice sound. It's definitely very bright, but Elton's is just a little bit fatter, a little bit beefier, and a little punchier, so it really can cut through and just, you know, be deafening if you want it to be. So so that's pretty much it, though. Thank you guys for all the positive comments on the funeral for a friend. I'm glad that you enjoyed it, and I hope that this helps all of you who are interested in putting together Elton's live sound for yourself.